Okay, Rachel, are you ready to go?
Yes.
What are we doing?
I don't know. I thought you knew.
Phil, aren't you supposed to be running the show? Which guest have we got?
Don't make me the boss of stuff.
You're the boss of stuff.
Let's wing it.
And go.
Hi, welcome to the This Is My Voice podcast.
The podcast where we discuss all things voice performance and talk to some of the industry's best and brightest talent.
We're your hosts, Rachel Salas.
And Eddie Bye.
Eddie, we've got a Jill of all trades today.
Okay, give me a clue.
She's done podcasts like for Mamma Mia. She's voiced cartoon characters.
Right.
You've heard her loads of times on ads and audiobooks.
Do you mean I don't have to read books anymore?
Dude.
What? What's an audiobook? My line was better. Go.
Presenting Madam Secretary of AAVA, Cecelia Ramsdale.
Hello. Oh, I love that title. I feel like I should be on the West Wing.
Very fancy. Thank you.
Not quite that fancy, though. I really could, I need to get a badge or something, don't I? At least a name tag. Yeah. Anyway. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us today.
It's quite a lot of stuff you've done there, isn't it? What, I don't know. I've just got ideas now. What did you do for Mamma Mia? Are you still working for Mamma Mia?
No. Okay. So I, as you say, a bit of a Jill of all trades, but generally in the area of audio, I've always been a bit of an audio nerd. Working in radio, I started off. And then when podcasts sort of came along, I had an audio editing background. I was never a producer whiz-bang like you, Mr. Eddie Bye, but I had those skills and I could use Pro Tools and stuff, so I just started doing some editing. And then I actually took myself on an adventure to Los Angeles in 2019 to go to a Women in Podcast conference called Work It, W-E-R-K, and I met, what's her name?
Rachel Corbett.
Yeah, I met Rachel Corbett there, and she was the head of podcasts at Mamma Mia at the time, and she was like, if you want to come and do some work for us when you get back, that'd be great. So I just started actually doing some editing, like producing for podcasts for them. But I hosted a podcast with Listener called The Wellness Collective for about 6 years, and I've been doing a podcast in the last year or so called the No Books Book Club, which is really just for fun. And it is very nice to be in a position where it's just about having conversations you don't get on the radio, which is what a lot of podcast stuff is about. And, just getting together with your mate and having a chat about, we call it the No Books Book Club because we it's like a book club, but we try not to talk about books. So it's like TV shows, films, concerts, exhibitions, crafting, whatever you've been doing. It's a bit of fun.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Sorry, I jumped in there with a random question.
That's all right.
Oh, that's okay.
Feel free to edit that one.
How did you get started? Let's do that.
Okay, so I was always a voice nerd, and I have realised that there are a breed of us out there who were always fixated on how's that person speaking, what is that accent, what is that character. I want to try and do it. And, as a kid I would mimic people and all of that kind of stuff. But then I really wanted to work in radio, so I managed to get myself a job in radio, started in the country, and because I was in the country, I was doing tons and tons of radio ads for right across the network. And of course you do get, most of them are pretty dry, like go and buy Jerry's Sheep Dip from Sheep Dips R Us on Main Street, all that kind of gear. But there was some creative stuff that came through as well. And I had a connection with Lee Simon, who was big at Triple M in Melbourne. He was like Mr. Rock and Roll. And I got in touch with him and I said, I really want to work in radio. I'm in the country. What should I do? Sent him some of my stuff. And I wasn't a very good announcer. I'm happy to actually own that. I really wasn't, because it's a real skill. And I think people underestimate how hard it is to be a really good radio announcer working by yourself. But he said, but I really love your voice work. You should get an agent. And I was like, yeah, I should get an agent. That sounds like a good idea. So I made myself a demo where I made voices like the mice in Babe, you know, thank the pig, thank you, pig. You know, like I just made my own version of all these little characters that I liked and chucked in a bunch of radio ads and sent it off to a couple of agents and got an agent very easily, which I don't think is the case these days for those people starting out in voiceover and voice acting. It's not as easy to get an agent, but it's probably easier to get jobs, if you know what I mean. So anyway, fast forward to now, and I've pretty much been doing that for the last 20 years. So, yeah.
You're actually really lucky there, because it is really hard, isn't it? You know, that's what, I think probably around that same time I was hitting RMK up, but they told me that because I lived in Adelaide, no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not even going to listen to your demo. And I'm like, that's so mean.
Yeah, well, I think you'll find that that's not changed a great deal for a lot of agents. Which is hard, especially given that so much voice acting is done remotely now. And that was probably the one good thing that came out of the COVID lockdown pandemic time, is that people who had home studios, all of a sudden the world actually opened up for them rather than closing down. And all of a sudden it didn't matter if you're in Adelaide or if you're in Perth or if you're in Singapore or Dallas or wherever. As long as you could align a time to meet up with each other, the world became very open. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of a shame. But then I guess, you know, agents are looking at their bottom line and whether they can make money out of you, and you're looking to see if you can make money out of them. And if they don't think that's going to be the case, then I guess that's the thing. But you don't need an agent these days to have a successful voice acting career. So I think that's the difference, and that's because of this wonderful thing called the internet. Yeah.
You're dead right, because, I mean, I teach students, you know, a lot of them, and what I say to my students is, you know, yeah, you don't need to be in the big markets, and there's plenty of opportunities out there because, you know, particularly when you're starting out, you need to read a lot of scripts and be exposed to a lot of different types of creative words to become a really good voice artist, and it's a great way to do that because the old days of the catch-22 of, you know, agents wouldn't take you on unless you've been doing it for minimum 10 years, but you don't get the opportunity to do it for 10 years because you don't have an agent to get the work, and now that's shifted a little bit, which is really good. And there are a lot of artists out there that are self-representing now as well, so, you know, there's a whole heap that I work with in my line of work where they've chosen that specifically on purpose, you know, because they go, no, well, I don't actually need it, because then I can kind of call my own shots. I can say, all right, that job's worth X to me, whereas an agent will go, no, it's worth what the MEAA says, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But,
yes,
you know,
I'm not going to talk that down, though. I will.
No, I agree, and I do agree with you on that. But sometimes...
But you're right. There's a variety, like there's a spectrum of jobs out there, and I reckon, as you're saying, when you're starting out, particularly, getting your head around the industry is a very big part of it. You know, looking at online opportunities where people are casting for voices, but also seeing what else is out there and how people are presenting themselves out there and the kind of recordings they're giving, you know, the space they're recording in, the equipment they've got. I think people can get really caught up in one aspect of it, but you really need to look at it in a holistic way if you want to succeed, right? And you just keep learning. You just got to always keep learning, and you got to be able to pivot and work out, you know, where the trends are going. And all of a sudden, like even what we were just talking about, you know, things being everything online, that's fine. Whereas now, like I'm based in Melbourne, and a lot of bigger clients are like, no, we want you to come into the studio again now. So, you know, whereas even 12 months ago, 6 months ago, they would have been like, yeah, we'll do it online. Source Connect, fine. But I think starting out, I agree. There's heaps of opportunities, and that's really exciting. Yeah,
it is. Well, and I think because country radio has gotten a bit smaller, so everyone cut their teeth out in country radio, and like you said, you had to read most of the ads, but that doesn't happen as much anymore. So that training ground it's not as fertile as it used to be. You know, I'd always want to get people to say, "Oh, you've been in the country, yeah, great, all right. Well, I know you've seen every facet of radio from the receptionist to the transmitter. You know every part about it, so that you know they're a well-rounded person."
Good.
Yeah,
I honestly feel like radio is just kicking itself in the head at the moment with all the race to AI and stuff. I'm like, guys, you're not going to have an industry in 5 years if you cannot value what you do and what the people who are making this, the contribution that they bring to the whole thing of radio. It's really not just about the bottom line. Like, it's about connecting with your audience and creating a community and being that place that people go to for reliable and trustworthy stuff. And if you're just going to send it over to ChatGPT and 11 Labs, well, people aren't stupid. Anyway.
No, I think that's
ranty about that.
Well, let's move into a brief little rant about that. It's like, I think human beings and human voices, announcers and voiceover artists actually built radio up to be what it is today. And I feel like there are some organisations that are looking to dismantle that to improve the bottom line. And that's a slightly worrying trend that we're sort of starting to see. And I wonder, I think I've been through all the stages of grief with the AI voices and everything. I honestly have. And I've sort of popped out the other side to say, well, unfortunately, I feel like it's not going to go away. But if we can use AI in the right way in radio that still looks after and nurtures our talent and remunerates talent appropriately for the work that they do and those huge contributions that they bring, I think that's fair, and I think that's kind of a reasonable expectation. But obviously, finding out that voices have been, stolen and synthesized and are being used without approval and all that sort of stuff obviously is not acceptable at all. But as we know, it's the Wild West,
Yeah. Well, interestingly, that's so in my role at AAVA, which is the Australian Association of Voice Actors, and I suggest everybody join up if you're interested in voice acting. You don't have to be working as a voice actor. We've got soundies, we've got studios, we've got voice actors, we've got, aspiring voice actors. It's only like $100 for the year, but we're having webinars from all amazing professionals. You can learn so much. And on the ground, we are lobbying the government to, because in the next year, they're really going to knuckle down on the laws around AI and guide rails. And we're really pushing for AI labeling to be brought in. So, for example, if you are using a announcer or a voiceover that's AI generated, our proposal is that you would have to flag that at the beginning of the commercial or of the segment, not in the middle of the night, but every single time, like a gambling ad or a political ad, or the smoking ads. So it's a disclaimer, right? So that people, and that's not even just about us who are doing the work and creatives. It's about people genuinely being allowed to know what they're consuming. You shouldn't have the wool pulled over your eyes because it erodes trust. And I find it really interesting. I've got some kids. They're my kids. They're not just random kids. I've got a couple of kids who are 12 and 15. And they are very skeptical about most things they see online now. They're like, is it AI? Yeah, no. And they just disengage straight away. So I think the fear is, well, not the fear, I think the possibility is that if too many organisations jump into this holus bolus, they're actually going to have the opposite effect of what they're trying to achieve, and that's just going to push people away. So it is a really interesting time, but lots of conversations are being had, and I think you're right. It's evolving. It's the Wild West, but there's definitely some glimmers of hope. We're not, and I think this idea that everything's going to be completely collapsed by it, hopefully is, I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
I was going to say with that, because I've got a bit of a strange background. I've also worked in radio, but I do have a marketing degree. So it's really important, though, that they have in posts for Instagram, like hashtag ad. Though disclosing AI is so important. So it's like, by all means, AI is not the enemy. AI can be used ethically. And that's what it comes down to. Businesses using it ethically and not trying to line their pockets. So for something, though, that's not going to even connect with the audience. Like, I think we were discussing this with Simon on a previous episode. It's like having a sat nav, though, talking where it's like AI, and it's that robo voice where you don't fully process, you don't connect with that. And part of the positives with this sounds really odd. The positives of having a global pandemic is everyone's done everything online. So granted, recording remotely, that's fantastic. But you have to adapt with the times. And through adaptation, people are craving connection.
Yeah, absolutely. This does the opposite.
Yeah. Your brand or your product is going to get less of a response if you're using AI, because people are not going to respond to it the way you want. That people can tell the difference between a AI voice and a human voice. And that is so important that we keep this going, not just for the industry, for you guys. Though I know I'm just starting to learn about everything, Lo, and
it blows your mind. You're like, oh my goodness.
I find it so fascinating, and it's great. Like, I know I'm not saying much beforehand, but listening to you and Ed having a chat, it's so fascinating, and we get it straight from the horse's mouth, which is so good. And that's why I think you mentioned before about trying to have voiceover communities. That's what we want to establish with this podcast. We want people involved. We want to connect with people, and also we're asking people like yourself, like, what are you finding interesting? What do you want to learn more? And like, rather than having just robo crap, because if we let it and don't actually get this legislation passed, it's just going to be robo crap. You're going to have voice announcers on radio galore. I
think it's interesting too, though, that there's this real push for two words: efficiency and productivity. And I think they're buzzwords that have been fed to everyone by probably the guys who own the tech. But when it comes to voice acting, I'm still, like, I will always say that the human voice is going to be a better communicator than any, synthesized version. Because whenever I'm like coaching with people, I love to talk about the body language that comes through. If you ring someone and you can't see them and you say, "Oh, how are you, Rachel?" and you say, "Oh, yeah, I'm really good." Now, your body language is telling me through your voice that, no, you're not very good, but your words are saying you're good, right? So there's so much that we pick up on from each other, the way we're saying things, the tone, the nuances, the like little stuff around the words, like the sigh or the breathing, and that's not like, that's human interaction, right? And even from obviously if you're doing character work, that stuff's really important to keep in mind when you're creating the characters. But even ads, like I did a session just recently for a chemist brand, and it's really fun. It's coming out soon. There was 8 commercials. We had a 2-hour time frame to record the 8 commercials. And when I got in there, they said there was a character in them, and they said, can you do some of the reactions for the character as well as do the voiceover for the 8 ads? And then we want to try a different, like a whimsical sort of voiceover for that. And I went, okay. So we did the straight read through. We did all the like achoo and the sound effects for the character. And then we did like a crazy version. Now, if you were going to try and do all of that with an AI prompt, it's going to take you longer than 2 hours to get something that's going to be worthwhile, right? So it was a good example for me to go, I just don't believe that this AI situation can replace us in a way that is meaningful in any capacity, really, at this point in time. Anyway.
No, and I completely agree. And I've seen that done before where, I've seen writers try and prompt a machine to get, and these writers also direct talent, so they know how to talk to a human.
Yeah.
And it is so frustrating, and they get so frustrated with it. And look, I mean, let's be blatantly obvious. It's only going to get better, right? But right now, it is so bad, and I've just gone, fuck this. Let's hire a fucking voiceover artist, basically, right? And I mean, and they're all for it as well. They understand. They're on board. But it was almost like a test, right?
The novelty is huge at the moment.
Yeah, and it's just, but that's it. The novelty, right? It's not good enough, and I can't imagine it ever being good enough where it would take direction. Like, you hit the nail on the head, Cecelia. Like, when we work together, or when I work with any artist, you know, I can go, oh yeah, just can we pull that back by 1%, and I can talk to you in a way, like I just go, oh. Did you know, I mean, you know, you're really happy that you've lost your cat because you never really liked it. It was your husband's cat. It used to shit all over the floor. But you're telling your husband, but you're being really sad in front of your husband. Like, give you a scenario like that. The AI would never get that emotion out, whereas we know exactly what the emotion is straight away. And I know that someone with your skill would just literally nail that, where there would just be this sympathy, but this little pointed moment in there where I'm going, I don't think she really liked the cat, right? And you'll never get that. But heading back to like the GPS thing, I reckon there's its spot. Right? You know, I go, all right, I'm doing a new GPS. I'm getting Cecelia to be my female voice. Cecelia, you know what? We could spend 6 months in a studio doing Aardvark Avenue, Aardvark Crescent, right, all the way through to Zebra, you know, Boulevard or whatever, right? Or we could strike a deal where you get paid appropriately, whatever it might be, and we agree on it, and your agent agrees on it, and then we synthesize your voice, and you hold the keys to that. You can pull the pin on it at any moment. If everyone was comfortable with that, I think that's a really good space. That's where you get the efficiency. But I'm paying still for Cecelia Ramsdale. I'm paying you good money. I mean, those things are worth 6 figures quite often, right? Really good money. And you get your retainer every year for that it's being used, and you can turn it off at any moment. You go, do you know what? I don't want to do it anymore. Boom, you're out. And you own the IP.
No, you're right.
I don't have a problem with that.
That's the conversation that needs to be happening. Yeah, that's that. There's so much focus on people just having things taken from them, and that's the risk.
It's quite violating in a way. And have you had?
It's a weird thought, isn't it? Yeah.
Have you had it happen to you where someone's cloned your voice?
Not that I know of, but you know, there's enough of me out there that it's always the risk. Anyway.
We previously did a Bluey episode with Dan Brum, who plays Uncle Stripe on the show.
Oh, so good.
Yes. You've got such a similar voice to Melanie Zanetti, sorry if I'm mispronouncing her surname. Like, you did a Bluey ad, but you sound like Chili.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was cast in something a couple of years ago because she wasn't available. It wasn't a Bluey thing. It was actually for the Melbourne Water in Melbourne. And it was for a character called Super Poo. And Super Poo took everybody on a tour through the sewer, and it was such a brilliant project. It had like a Jabba the Hutt style Fatberg, so we had to come up with a voice for him, and then there was like a family of bacteria that were all like, and then it was really great. But yeah, it was pretty funny because they said, oh, we wanted to get Melanie Zanetti, but she wasn't in the country. I went, okay, well, I'm happy to take her dregs. That's good. Yep, fine.
Hey, think of the money.
Look, that is on my bucket list. I would love to have a small role in the Bluey movie. Not sure if that's a possibility. They're probably all cast with, big name peoples, but you never know. Put it in the universe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Though that would be a dream gig.
yeah, even a little one. That's right.
So going back to a little bit of radio, you previously worked at Fox FM with Andy Lee, and from Hamish and Andy. He's now working on a cartoon, and I noticed on your Instagram, though, that you were voicing some character voices for his project. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so he's got a show on. Well, he wrote some kids' books a few years ago called, Do Not Read This Book. And then he managed to get that into a television series, which doesn't surprise me because those guys are quite amazing. Like, really, I've never worked with anybody that seems to be just so I don't know, they just managed to get all the parts of the puzzle put together in the right way. So good on them. But you know, I worked with him and Hamish when they were first starting out. So I've known them a long time. And so they were just recording the second season of Do Not Watch This Show. The first season is available on iView and the ABC at the moment. And yeah, he asked me to come in and just do some incidental characters. And again, mainly because the main characters are all being played by well-known comedians. So it was kind of interesting that that's the way they've gone casting-wise. But I was more than happy. I'm happy to do anything when it comes to animations. Like literally, if it's one line, sure, bring it on. Because I still think there's such magic in seeing what your interpretation of what this, you know, character that sometimes you don't even have a picture of, you've just got a description and you have to come up with a voice that you think will match that. And then when you see it actually come together, it's magic. It's amazing, right? I don't think I'd ever get sick of that.
That sounds fun, collaborating with the directors. So, like, I mean, Eddie, do you find it more beneficial with voice actors like Cecelia collaborating with you and going, oh, yeah, I like this, but do you think this character should have a bit more oomph to them? Or
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a rule, and I might have mentioned this in a previous episode, but I've got a rule. With first take, I don't really give any direction. I'll be like, okay, Cecelia, so we've got this, you know, ad for Joe's fish shop or whatever, and let's just have a go, see where you land, and we'll meet up at the end. That's pretty much what I say. And then because I don't want to put thoughts into my artist's head, because otherwise I get what I want, and I know what I want, right? Because I've been doing this for a little while. I know exactly what I want, but I find I won't learn anything new if I said to Cecelia, okay, so you're this, that, the other, and I want it to be that, and blah, 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 hit this line, and full stop there, and upward inflection there, and downward there, happy there, sad there, and, you know, really do-da-da-da-da. I could do that, and I know you would nail it. But I would get exactly what I asked for. Yeah. But if I just go, let's have a crack. Yeah, but let's have a crack. And then sometimes I'll go, I'd never thought of doing it that way. Let's go that way. Yeah. And then I learn something again. So that's the fun part of having a human.
Yeah, you feel like a kid in a candy store.
I love that you say that. Yeah, and I agree. I think also you can get very, I think especially working with advertising people rather than radio people, they can find it very hard to communicate how they want something to sound. Like it's hard to put that into words unless you're doing it all the time. And even then, sometimes the words don't land in the way the other person understands them. So definitely, I agree 100%, Eddie, that's the best way to go. You go, right, we'll just do one, and that's like our baseline, and then we'll just see what comes out of it from there. Yeah. So with these ones for Andy, there was 3 characters. One was the son.
Yeah.
One was like a TV show cooking voice like Nigella Lawson was the inspiration, and the third one was actually like an intercom voice. So I was like, okay, intercom voice, that's easy. You know, everyone knows that's like T minus 3, 2, 1. The building is exploding. You know, that kind of like thing. But yeah, so
that's great.
I think by the time they got to me too, they'd done everybody else, so they were just happy. They were just happy I was there. So that was easy. That was good. Yeah.
That's always a good way to walk into a session, just to know that they're happy you're there.
Yeah, that's right. Like, oh, yeah, great, you're here.
Oh, thank God you're here.
But saying that, I cannot tell you how much being part of being a good voice actor is being easy to work with, right? So you walk into the room and you're there to make it a fun experience, a good experience, to make it as easy for the people who are there as possible. You know, don't start redirecting the way this should go. I mean, I have worked with people who have done that. I remember working on a project a couple of years ago, and the other actor was like, I don't know about this line. I think we should change it. And I was like, dude, this is not your job. Your job is to read what's in front of you, and if you need some clarification, sure, ask for it, but do not start trying to redirect it. That is not your job. And everyone in the room is just rolling their eyes at you right now.
And you sit there and go, you criticise the writing, And most of the time, the writer is sitting on this very couch. And so you're criticising their work. They go, oh, look, I wouldn't read it like that, with the commas are in the wrong spot and blah, 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 blah. I've worked with thousands of voice artists over the years. And in the industry, I have a phrase called, I had to sub them off. And what that means is, what that means. It means, thanks for coming. You can have a little bit of money just for rolling up, but you're not getting paid for the full gig because I didn't like you. And I've probably subbed off in now. I've been doing it for let's say 20 years, sort of. In commercial land, right? I've subbed somebody off maybe 4 times in that period.
Yeah. Wow.
Not
they
bad.
Stand out. That's the thing, because most people do not behave that way or get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had one guy where he couldn't take direction, and I was with the writer, and I've got a way of giving direction, and then we're in between takes. We're notorious for this, and the artists know. In between takes, we talk, right? Yeah, I'll be like, Cecelia, have a crack. There you go. Blah 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 blah. What are you doing? Go. Yeah, I like what she's doing there, but I think we need to fix this up. And then, she's missing a word in that line. So that was great, Cecelia. Yeah, let's go for one more. And can we just blah, 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 blah? So we know what we want to say.
Make sure you don't miss the words.
Yeah, ideally. But this guy, he was just the same every time. And I'm scratching my head and I'm looking at the writer and I'm like, dude. And in between I said, all right, John, I need you now to take over direction, because clearly he's not understanding what I'm saying, or maybe I'm wrong. And like you said, like I can give you direction, but if it's a bit wild and out there or doesn't connect with you, then you don't know how to respond. So then he had a go, and it just didn't work. And then after about half an hour, I've gone, we're going to have to sub him. And so I said, look, I'm so sorry. I think, and I feel really embarrassed. It's a really hard thing to do. And I'm like, look, I think we maybe made a casting error here. So I'm really sorry, but let's just call it a day, and thank you so much for coming, and blah, blah, blah. And he just goes, yeah, well, if you guys could give direction properly, it wouldn't be a problem. And then we looked at each other, and me and the writer looked at each other, never booked him again.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. You're only as good as your last job. Yeah. Someone said that to me early on in the piece, and I cannot tell you how often I say that to myself, even when it's not easy, or, most of the time it's brilliant. Like, we're getting paid to stand in front of a microphone and be silly. Mm-hmm. Or the challenge is, right, this is really long and I've got to get this into 30 seconds. Right, let's go. I'm going to get this. Like the perfectionist in me goes, I'm going to nail this. It's going to be good. Right? There's so much fun. And like you say, Eddie, I learn something new every single time I stand in front of a microphone. Now, after 20 years, how can that be? Well, it's because, there's so many parts to it. What's the character? Am I breathing in the right place? Oh, I don't know how to say that word. I've never said that word before. That's crazy. Okay, so these are 2 characters interacting. Now I'm doing an audiobook and I've got to record myself. Hang on, this is there's just so many parts, and I am just curious about all of it. I was talking to someone yesterday and he goes, I'm really, your career is great and I would love to have a career like yours. And I was like, dude, I just keep on keeping on. I'm like a shark. I won't stop swimming. If I stop swimming, I die. It's just, there's always something new to do and learn. And that's what keeps me going.
That's great.
And also with direction, you work with different directors, you learn something new from them. That's the opportunity there.
And I often, because even as a director, it's funny because I'm talent as well, right? I do voiceovers too, I think I give really good direction. Sides. And then I get directed, and I'm like, oh, this guy's way better than me. I think I talk too much. And I think, when you get a bit cold in a session because the guy's going, yeah, great, so we could just do that, and that, because blah, 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 blah. And then it's like 2 minutes between the things that he said that he wants you to do, and then they've given you the whole, history of why it needs to be done. And they go for a take, oh, far out, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. I've forgotten how to do it now. And I think I do that, and because when I get directors like that where they want to tell you about the weather and everything all through the session. You just go, oh man, just get to the point. And then I reckon for about a week after, I'm like, okay, I've got to be more succinct with my talent. I've got to be nicer to them and just go, just give me this, just give me that, and then shut up and let them talk. And then 2 days later, I'm back to. So anyway, what's it like in Melbourne at the moment? Like, is the weather nice? It's lovely here.
We're both Eddie years back,
Yeah, I know, sorry. So, yeah. So I should solicit more feedback from my talent and go, how am I going as a director? What?
No comment.
No,
I don't know. I haven't worked with you for long enough. I don't remember you being overly directy, though. So,
okay, good. All right. Well, we'll rectify that. I'll get you in for a job.
Oh, okay, cool. But I think that's hard because it is fun talking, like with your people when you're in a session too. So like it's a fine line. That's part of the whole experience is that you're working together, and that's cool and it's exciting, and you're both trying to achieve something great, even if it is just an ad for the local pizza shop. That's going to be great. So
yeah.
Well, and this is kind of a question directed to both of you. So you mentioned it briefly in a phone call we had, about non-voiceover artists, so it could be a comedian or an actual stage actor, coming into muscle in on your work, essentially. Do you think, voice actors should absolutely be prioritised for every job, or what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, what a great question. It's a different skill, is my thought on that. I don't know about Eddie, but I've been in sessions where I have worked with like a double act, which they come in and out of fashion. So it's kind of interesting. At the moment, we don't get many duo recordings, but those, I love your hair. Where did you get it done? Oh, I got it done at Tina's Hairdressing. Like those kinds of ads were very popular for a while. So you'd be working with someone else quite a lot. And often when I was in that situation and I would be working with like a screen actor, I'd find it really interesting that they don't have the same pace, like as in the way they work. It's a lot more laconic often, but it's just a different skill working with a microphone and concentrating all of your emotion and energy into just getting it through in the way you're voicing something. So, yeah, muscling in. The longer I've been in this community, the more I realise that if we stick together, we're better off, rather than saying, sorry, you can't join in. Because I read this great thing that was like, a flower doesn't bloom in a field alone. And I was like, yeah, well, that's completely true, right? We can all just not celebrate each other, or we can go, wow, how great is this thing we get to do? And I'm so happy for you that you're doing that thing, because also there is a moment in your career, I think, where you realize you're not suited to every single role and every single commercial, and you don't have time in your day to record every single one of them anyway. And then you start to go, oh, well, I'm glad that person's doing that. That's really great for them. So, yeah. And I think also I have also realized that it takes a lot of commitment to have a career as a voice actor, a lot of commitment to creating demos, to auditions, to having relationships with people and maintaining those relationships and showing up and doing a good job every single time, even when you're not feeling it. And a lot of people don't have that commitment. So they might want to do it, but they've got to have all of that behind them to make it a success for themselves.
Mm.
That's just what I was talking to you about before we came on, wasn't it?
Yeah, the different aspects of becoming a voice artist, because we want to, one of the goals we were discussing for our podcast is a lot of people see the curtains. So another one of my questions I was going to have as a follow-up, like, who's the most interesting person that you've had the pleasure of working with? But I mean that as not necessarily the most flashbang celebrity that you've worked, although that is cool, but seeing someone else work as a voice artist, you can pick up little bits and pieces, and
yep,
yeah. What for that? For you, who was that?
So I was really lucky in the first animated series I did, which was called Sumo Mouse, which was on the ABC and Channel 9, and I think it's on YouTube and stuff now. I played 2 characters. I played Tabby, which was the main female cat character. Sumo Mouse was a mouse, obviously. And I played Sumo Mouse's auntie, who was like a little mouse. so silly. Anyway, so I played those 2 characters, and I had never been in a professional animated series or anything before. I'd done some student stuff. But when we recorded this was quite a long time ago, but we recorded it with the whole cast in the room together. So there was usually 4 or 5 of us in front of microphones playing off each other as we recorded. And to answer your question, which is a great question, because that experience probably isn't available to many people these days. A lot of it's done remotely, and, you know, one actor might be in Canada and one might be in America and one's in Australia, and then they just, you know, edit them together. But I learnt so much from watching. Lyle Brooks was one of the actors. He's a theatre actor mostly, but one of the funniest guys I've ever met. He was playing the sidekick to Sumo Mouse called Wazzy. And he was just hilarious because he was a theatre actor. He brought in a lot of physicality to his characters. He had great energy. There was another guy called Justin Kennedy, who's a comedian and a writer. He played some other characters. And watching the 2 of them and the way they created the physicality of the characters when they were voicing them, I learnt tons. And I think that was probably the thing, like the experience like that you say, where I went, oh, wow, I can really pick up on what they're doing and take that on board. And, yeah, it was great.
That's brilliant. Well, you've nailed the brief with that question. Speaking of interesting collaborations, you've worked with your daughter on a podcast. So what was that like?
I did. It was actually my son. I tried to get my daughter to do it. Hang on. I can't even remember. It was one of them. But both of my kids do voiceovers, and the podcast didn't really go anywhere. It was just before the pandemic, and I just decided it was too much like hard work. So we did one episode, and it was good to do from the point of view of, like I said, I keep learning. You try something and you go, okay, I'm going to take away this and this and this from that. And they do say don't work with animals and kids.
Children.
But I just realised it was going to be a lot of work that I was going to have to do. So, but both of my kids do voice acting, and it's really easy when your mum does it because you just shove them in front of the microphone and they've grown up with it. So it's not like, oh, this is exciting. It's just like, oh, yeah, that's just what mum does. But it has given them so much confidence in themselves and to speak in front of other people and to take direction, Eddie, like from teachers or from one's a musician and one's a dancer. And so they're quite used to being critiqued in a way that's not judgmental. And I just had parent-teacher interviews, and my son's English teacher said, we're doing Romeo and Juliet, and he's the only one in 2 classes that can actually stand up and read it out loud and make it make sense. And I was like, yes, it's a win.
That is a win.
Proud mum moment.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But I'm like, you know what? If that's given them the confidence to go out into the world and use their voice, then that's a good thing.
Well, good on you. I've got a daughter who's the captain of a football team, and she has to do a speech at the presentations in about a week's time. And we're talking about it in the car on the way home, and she goes, I can't believe I could do a speech. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, I'm a voice artist and vocal coach. I reckon you should be fine. And she goes, yes, but I'm not, right? And I said, don't worry, we'll work on the script together and we'll keep it simple and just practice it. So I'm glad.
Middle and an end.
Yeah, but see, I think, you're having that great success. And my elder daughter, she's pretty good. She's done a couple of little voice jobs and stuff like that, but she's so hard on herself. I think in a way she watches me I hate to say it, but because I'm not, but like perfect.
You've done it lots of times.
Yeah, or be really good. Dad's perfect at it. Every time he opens his mouth, he never stumbles his words. And I've had her sit on this couch here with the microphone, and I have to face, away from her.
Yeah, look away.
And I'm just like, no, let's do that again. And I've looked around, and she's in tears because she goes, I just can't get that word right. And I'm like, darling, it's you and me. It's you. like we've got forever to get this right, and I think so. She's really hard on herself. The other one refuses. So I reckon bloody gold star to you,
you're
mate.
Not a very good. You're a terrible showbiz mum. What can I say?
Yeah, step on their foot, do it again. That sort of stuff.
It's such a beautiful way to bond, though, with your children. And we've mentioned before on the show that, like, animation's very intergenerational, where, like, I was watching Wallace and Gromit with my grandma, and it's something beautiful that I can watch with my son. And do you find that as a really good bonding and educational tool for your children?
Oh, wow. I think my daughter has watched every episode of The Simpsons, which is like 35 years worth, so I'm not sure if that's a great admission.
Well, you've raised her right.
Yeah, but she's learned a lot about the world. Probably more like being in the booth with them is like I listen back to, like you're saying, Eddie, I listen back to recordings and I'm like, no, do it like this. No, okay. Yep, no, you need to say this word like this. And then I listen back and I'm like, oh, you sound awful. But I did have someone say to me once, I think you're a really lovely mum. And I went, oh, God, gee, wow, okay. Wow. I must have not been quite as bossy as I thought. But I don't know whether they will pursue it as they get older. We'll just see. I mean, they like the money, let's face it.
That is very
it's
rewarding.
Pretty good money for a 12-year-old because they get paid the same as the adults.
So, that's all right.
Yeah, it's good.
I think, and I've been, because you don't, you like you said, don't work with children or animals, right? And unfortunately, from time to time, you do need a child actor to come in. Yeah. And often what will happen is I'll send it away to you, and I'll go, "Can you get your daughter to record this?" And then you'll send it back to me, and you can hear in the background just go, "No, da 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 da, yeah, good, da 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 da." Yep, good. Yeah. Let's go one more time. And the kid just parrots it back. It's like a game of ping pong, right? And I'm like, okay. And I feel for the parents, but I think, when the kids are so young and they don't have the experience, you can't go, pretend like you're driving down an ocean highway with the wind in your hair in the next take, because they'll be like, what are you talking about? They don't get it. Whereas you've got to kind of...
Yeah. It's interesting too, like... I think advertising in particular doesn't really understand kids' ages and stages. And I find this really interesting that, so my son's 15 and so he's kind of in the dark zone of voiceover. So teenagers, they don't get many jobs. Now, it's weird because there's still a market for teen stuff, but they will get an older person to do a teen voice rather than get a teenager to do it. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And then, like, my daughter did something recently where it was for a skin disease gala, like to raise money for this genetic skin disease. But she had to read out a script that was going to be played like Voice of God style, like to the gathering. And it was quite gory. Like, it was very graphic, the content about what happens when you have this particular thing. But they wanted a 7-year-old to do it. And I had this discussion with my agent, and she was like, it really needs an older child. Like, you can't have a 7-year-old talking about this stuff. Like, it's a bit scary, So it's very funny, because I think also getting back to if you're an adult, being able to voice things in different ages. This is one of the best things about being a voice actor. No one judges you on your actual calendar age. It's whether you can sound like you are a mature mother, or you're advertising a retirement home, or can you be a young mum talking about buying nappies, or can you be a 17-year-old thinking about going to university? Like, all of those things are within you if you can play, and that makes you really versatile. So don't try and come in on one thing, expand your horizons.
There's such a freedom in doing that, because you get to really have a play. Yeah, it sounds fantastic, though. And I think when I'm trying to do character voices, so you're just like, okay, let's put you on the spot. And then I keep on practicing it. I'm just like, yeah, that's how I get better. And that's how you broaden your horizons. Or I find it's like Belle in she was doing that film In a World where she gets people's voices for like a file, and she's like, I really want to get that sexy baby voice where it's like, excuse me, do you know anywhere where I can get a smoothie? And it's like, yes, I love that. And it's just like, it's a terrible voice, but it's like doing it for the right context is so good. And
I think you need to then be able to figure out how it feels within your body when you land on a voice, so that you can come back to it easily.
Yeah.
And then you make your little toolkit. So you have a toolkit where you're like, oh, okay, that's my grandma voice. Oh, hello. I do a little bit like this. Yes, great. Or then, like, if I'm going to be a 17-year-old, then I lift the pitch of my voice. And I'm like, if you want to study at, university, you need to have an ATAR, blah, blah. So, like, that's probably not great examples, but you know in yourself how you access that tone, that pitch, that sound, that resonance. That's why it's a continuous learning curve, I reckon.
Well, I'm going to kind of use that as a segue into our games. So we've got a couple of little games. Yeah, we can't just have a ordinary interview around here, can't we? Can we? So we're just like...
No, we can't. That's the best bit.
Let's challenge people.
Yep, good.
So as part of the show, we like to do a voice-off. So I'm going to name a category or a franchise or a cartoon to see if you can voice a character or do a voiceover that applies to the situation. So the aim of the game is to do the best impression. The best impression wins. So seems easy enough, doesn't it?
Oh, I don't know whether I'm that good at impressions.
Me either. So
you did brilliant.
Rach is pretty good though. You wait. She's excellent.
Yeah, right. I don't think I'm going to win. Okay, that's fine.
So, are you ready to go?
Oh, as ready as I'm ever going to be.
So, Family Guy.
Nah.
Can't do that.
I can't do Family Guy either.
I can do Trisha Talcanower.
Who's that?
The reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said with the samples, I used to work at 2SM. The news director was called Diane, and there was this lady that has this twang, and called Isabel Musali, that did from Government House Canberra, Isabel Musali for Super Network News. And it was like, Diane, I'm standing in front of Parliament House Canberra. And it was just very nasally. I was just like...
Squashed.
Yeah, every time they'd have a news report, I'd be like, from Government House Canberra, Isabel Musali for Super Network News. And everyone's just looking at me like I'm mad. I'm just like, hey, if you hear ads going, if you've ever worked in a radio station, you will go mad hearing the same ads.
Over and over. Yeah. What about the poor people that work in Chemist Warehouse? Always think of them.
Or Coles Radio with, over and over. So, Star Wars.
Oh, well, everyone does Yoda, don't they?
Yeah.
Do or do not. There is no try. I'm not very good at these things.
No,
you're having fun, though, and that's the game of it.
Wookiee. I mean, really, that's all there is to Chewie. Yep.
This year, Jar Jar Binks, I am the worst character in the whole Star Wars franchise.
Oh, I feel really sad for the poor actor that played Jar Jar Binks.
I know, they rag on him so hard.
I know. Why God? Leave the guy alone. Anyway, yes.
So, any celebrity impression?
I used to do Julia Gillard.
Oh, here we go.
Me too.
That
was what I was
Cecelia first.
Tell me better.
Cecelia first.
I'm telling you, this is not my wheelhouse. Doing, I will not be lectured on misogyny by this man. Yeah,
that's good. You've got that whole Victorian, that mouth change.
It reminds me of Blinky Bill.
Yeah, the vows. Yeah.
I will not be lectured about misogyny by this man.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Hard to
somewhere
tell.
in between the two of us. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
it's a draw.
I reckon that was a draw. I love that.
Yes. Although going back full circle to Kate Blanchett, I do love that so often when there's, castings that are looking for an Australian voice, they use Kate Blanchett as the
base.
Example. So, that like Galadriel voice of in the forest, the hobbits gathered. Like that kind of voice,
great.
I think, is the one that everybody's like, That's what we need.
It's cultivated Australian.
Yeah, cultivated Australian with a little bit of Elvish.
Yes. And that was A+. You did great with that.
Brilliant. Well, you've won then, Cecelia.
Yeah.
And I forfeited. I didn't even make it to the start line.
You didn't even play. I know.
No, well, I think our listeners will know I'm your everyday guy. So unfortunately, I just don't do characters.
Don't do
very well.
impressions.
No.
I do characters, but I do my own characters. Like, just quickly, I know we've been talking for ages, but just quickly with audiobooks, I have like a stock lot.
Ooh.
So, like I always go with the narrator voice should be as close to my own voice as possible so I can just maintain that. But then if there's like a female protagonist, she's probably like just a bit lighter and a bit closer, like close to my voice. And then if there's a guy, I just drop my tone like down. It depends how Australian they are. And
Yeah.
like, so, you look for clues with the characters and then just change one thing, because with audiobooks, you don't want them to be ridiculously over the top.
Yeah.
I did do one book where there were some bikies, and I had an Audible review that was like, the characters were so over the top, I hated it. And I was like, doesn't matter. One person. As long as the author's happy, I don't really care about one Audible troll. That's okay.
That's hilarious. Oh, that's great. Well, at least, you know what you did? You engaged a listener enough for them to respond to your voice. And I think that's a big tick. Yeah. That's exactly what you want. That's brilliant.
That's right. Yeah. That made you troll, then good on me. Yeah.
I agree. I know we're running out of time, but I agree. I don't do, like, if you said, I'll do a David Attenborough or whatever. I can't do that. I can't mimic very well. Yeah. But what I love about doing voices is you can change your voice ever so slightly, and it just to kind of go, well, who am I, right? Am I a young, dynamic tradie who's just bought his first, Ford Ranger, and he's,
got a ute.
Yeah, but he's not like an ochre one. He's not the old one. He's not the one with like leathery hands. He's a bit more enthusiastic, and I think you can get that right. Like he's just like, yeah, mate, no worries. What we can do here is we can fix this up for you. We'll get that done, no worries. Whereas the older bloke will be like, yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, what you've got here, it's a little bit broken, but we'll sort that out. No problem. I'll give you a call. Start on Tuesday. So that's
right. So it's like a different tone and a little bit. The attitude is a bit different.
Yeah, because it's a different person. And when you are a different person, the voice changes automatically. And that's what I love about that sort of stuff. So I feel like I can do that, but I just can't do, Donald Trump. Whereas, people can, like a million voice artists out there can do Donald Trump. So many of them. I'm like, I actually go, well, why would I even bother? Because I'm not going to be as good as the other guy, so I might as well just leave that to someone else.
Yeah.
I think the best thing about mimicking for us is that it can inform like another character, right? So if you were given something and it was a Trump-like character, then you could go, okay, well, Donald Trump is like this, so maybe he's a bit like that, but not quite so Trumpy. So you can then pull it back, or you can push it further. So they become really good starting points, like you were saying about with a commercial. I think taking inspiration from the way other people speak, characters or, actresses or actors or Trumps, politicians, it becomes your base where you can go, okay, so the character, I kind of like the way they do this particular thing, so I'm going to start with that and then see how I can, play around with it.
Yeah,
and that's endless.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
A highlight of yours was being nominated at Sovis. Can you tell us about that? That's incredible.
That was a highlight. Yeah. So last year I entered the Sovis Awards, which is based in America, and I guess it's prestigious. I don't know, but I kind of did go into it a little bit like, oh yeah, I'm just going to throw my hat in the ring for this. And it really was that, like, I just was kind of at this point in my career where I went, I kind of like to see what's going on over on the other side of the pond, and how what we do here stacks up, because we're a small industry really by global standards. So I entered the body of work category, which is like, I think you have to have at least 15 years worth of stuff We'll have to be doing it for 15 years to enter. And so you have up to 20 minutes of audio and video that you can enter. So I entered that and then kind of set and forget, went off on my merry old way. And then a couple of months later on a Sunday morning, I got up and I had an email that said, congratulations, you're a finalist in the category of body of work. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So there was five finalists from across the world. There was Simon Kennedy, the president of AAVA. That's actually where we met in person. I had met him on Zoom meetings and stuff previously, but he was in the same category and he won it. Damn it. There was me and there was a guy called Nicholas from England and a couple of American ladies, I think. But do you know what? I actually didn't go looking at who the other people were because I thought I'm either just going to freak myself out or just my imposter syndrome will be like, what have you done? Why are you doing this? Like, which again is freaking myself out, I suppose. So I just went along with it and last minute decided to buy a ticket and go to LA to the awards, and there was a conference associated with it. And I had the most fun 3 days I've had in a long time. It was an absolute hoot. So stayed in Hollywood, ended up on like crazy adventures with, well, Tamara Linky I met, who's one of your people, an Adelaide voice actor.
We've had her on the show. She's lovely.
Yeah. So I met her because she was a finalist in the Body of Work International category. So amazing work from her. She's awesome. But yeah, so we hit it off, and we also met an American friend, Callie, who lives in Minnesota. And so we just kind of went on this rollicking 3-day adventure through LA, which was at the award ceremony was at the Beverly Hills Hilton, where they have the Golden Globes as well.
Wow.
But it was just so fun. Anyway, didn't win, but very happy to have been there. And I absolutely would say have a crack. Just have a crack at things, because you just never know who you're going to meet. You never know what doors it's going to open. You never know where it will lead. Like, it's really crazy that like 12 months ago I hadn't done that. And within that 12 months, these people that I met through that have become really significant and has changed the way I kind of navigate stuff. So, yeah, it was great. So, yes, I was very honoured to be at that point. But I also said to Simon, I'm not a winner, so I didn't expect to win. You know how some people win everything? I never win anything. So I was like, I'm in the finals. I don't care. That'll do.
Yes, says Simon Kennedy as he walks out with all his awards. He goes, you're not a winner.
Sees you,
I am.
smug.
Come on, mate. Come on, mate. Yes. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But anyway, like, that would be the one piece of advice I'd say to anybody who wants to get into voice acting. Just start. Just have a crack.
Yeah.
And your career is your career. It's not the same as Eddie's, and it's not the same as mine, and it's not the same as yours, Rachel. It's everyone's is different. Everyone's got different skills, and everyone's interested in different stuff. And so I just think that there's room for everybody.
So to end this podcast, we have another challenge for our guests.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yay.
Yeah.
So, but it's good because you get to be creative and it's a lot of fun. So,
Okay.
you know the whole inner world shtick, like where people go, inner world, one man.
Oh, yes.
That kind of thing. Like, please ignore my horrible attempt. So we want you to do a trailer narration of this interview, though, and you can do it in any voice you want. You could do a funny character. You could do it in your own voice. Be as creative as you want.
All right, then. I'll do my old lady voice because that's my favourite. Okay, ready? In a world where two people sat on a blue couch and you wore your bloody red jumper to the interview, we discussed things like computers taking over the world, making characters, and trying to do that voice of that female Prime Minister. What was her name again? Yes, lots of it, lots of things to talk about, and very informative, if I might say so myself.
Lovely. Well done.
Thank you so much,
Good work, Cecelia. That was great. That was lovely.
Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure.
Are you an AAVA member now, Ray?
I will be as of Christmas time. So my husband's like, I'm not sure what to get you. I just said, get me a membership. So.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, I love it. It's good marketing, an AAVA membership for Christmas.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write it down.
Thank you for listening to This Is My Voice, the podcast about all things voice performance with the world's best voice artists. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a review and don't forget to subscribe. This episode has been brought to you by the Australian Radio School and delivered to your ears by the Ozcast Network.